Hey, let's take it higher. God told me to tell you, child, don't worry, keep it moving. If they walk out and you lose them, you just know that heaven still has your reward.
Hey everybody, my name is Jenny Christian and welcome to Feel, Heal, and Restore. If there's one thing that I love, it's watching a woman excel and succeed in her business. It's been such a pleasure to watch my next guest evolve over the years as a photographer and businesswoman, but most importantly, as a tremendous woman of faith. Please stay tuned to hear from this phenomenal woman, the journey of Janelle Jaqueline.
My mother raised us in the church. She was actually a minister. We were involved in several ministries. Like growing up, we were literally in the church almost every day of the week. She kept us immersed in church and God and faith and just teaching us those things as we grew up. So that's kind of where it started for me. But growing up, I kind of wanted to just be like the other kids. I didn't really want to be concerned with church all the time. I just really wanted to fit in with all the other kids. But it was kind of clear from an early age that I did not fit in with everybody else. I kind of stuck out like a sore thumb a little bit. And because I wanted to fit in really, really bad with other kids and I wanted to be accepted, I would kind of change my behavior to mirror other children or other kids, or even through college. This is not even just a small child. When I got older, even in college, I would just do things just because I knew everybody else was, because I just wanted them to accept me. Even dressing provocatively or sex before I was married or whatever it was, I was doing these things because everybody else was, and I wanted them to not look at me like I was just an outsider. I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted acceptance. So from there, after college, growing up, I always wanted to get married and have kids. I can never tell you what career I was going to have. I probably wanted to work for myself because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom one day, but I never could tell you exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to be a wife and a mom. So when I was about 23, I met this awesome guy. We spent every day together. He went to church with me because that was actually one of my requirements. I'm not going to date you unless you go to church with me. So he went to church with me every Sunday. Like I said, we were together every day. He did more than any other guy had ever done for me. So I just assumed that this was it. This was the one. This is what I had been hoping for my whole life. And he proposed about a year after we had been dating. And I was ecstatic actually. I accepted. About a year later after that, we got married. Marriage was pretty rocky. At the beginning, because he was actually a police officer, and he got involved in a shooting the first 2 months of our marriage. And I just thought that's why things were so rough, because, he's going through all this PTSD, all these issues. He asked me to have a baby, and I said, of course, because like I said, I wanted to be a mom. So about 9 months into our marriage, I found out I was pregnant. And then about 4 days after I found out I was pregnant, I found out he was cheating. And then about 2 weeks after that, I had a miscarriage. So it was like just a terrible sequence of events all within about a month. And it was just probably one of the hardest things it is the hardest thing I've ever dealt with in my life. After the miscarriage, I ended up, I really wanted to make my marriage work regardless to what had happened. I didn't want to be divorced. My parents were divorced. That wasn't something I never wanted to experience. And I even remember actually after the fact, my stepmother actually brought it to my attention. She was like, growing up, I told her one of my biggest fears was being divorced. And I don't remember saying this at all, but she was like, you talked about divorce before you even got married. Like, you were terrified of it. So that was my number one thing. I was like, I don't want to be divorced. So I tried harder and harder to be a better wife. I tried to overlook things. I tried to act like it wasn't going on, but things were just getting worse and worse and worse. And his behavior wasn't changing at all. So we eventually separated, and I was still praying like, okay, God, the Bible says you hate divorce. So fix my marriage. That was pretty much the point where I started to try to turn to God, because I assumed if I turned to God that he would fix my situation. He would fix my marriage. After, I want to say about a year, we were separated for like a year before I actually was just like, this isn't going to get any better. I realized things were just getting worse and worse and worse. And I just remember telling God, you know what, if this is what you want for my life, then I honestly don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to live. This is just too much. It was just too painful. I was so depressed. I wasn't eating. I was losing weight. It was just like a hard moment in my life. And I couldn't believe that God wasn't going to give me what I asked him for. So I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I remember literally praying and crying and just asking God to just take me now. Like, why am I still here? So after that, after I woke up the next morning, because clearly God didn't do what I asked him to do, I woke up and I just kind of started to realize that maybe God had me here for something other than being someone's wife, or being mistreated as somebody's wife. Maybe God had something more for my life than just that. So I started to like reach out to God and ask him why he would allow me to go through all these things and what he needed me to go through that for. And then I started to realize that God never really puts us through anything that he doesn't intend on us using that story to help somebody else with. Like, there's so many people, especially with divorce. It's such a taboo topic for Christians. No one wants to talk about it. Everybody says God has divorced and that's the end of it. Even when I was looking for resources to help me get through what I was going through, there's not much there, because the answer truly is, like, for most Christians, just don't do it. And I think they value marriage over people almost sometimes. They almost make it seem as if your personal sanity is not as important as, staying married. So I think God put me through that to intentionally help other Christians get through the same thing and be vocal about it. Don't hide behind it, be scared, or act like, you're just you're the black sheep over here. No, you're a person. It happens and life happens, because honestly, in marriage, you can't control the other person. There's two people and you need two people to make it work. So I think God took that experience to grow me and stretch me as a person. Honestly, I'm nothing like I was before I got married. Like, I'm a completely different person. And looking back, I'm so grateful to have went through that experience, even though it was awful and terrible. It's the only reason that I'm who I am today. So I would say probably Jeremiah 29:11. It's pretty much describing how God can take any situation and turn it from, even if it's a bad situation. And he's using that experience to give you some sort of future, some sort of plans for the future. Every experience you go through, whether good or bad, God is going to take that experience and he's going to turn it around for you if you let him. But you have to actually give it to him, like physically give him every area of your life. And then whatever he gives back, you have to be open enough to receive it. So that's probably what I would use to describe that experience.